Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's work in the Cosmere. And there'll be opinions on this one. Joining me as always is Ian.
And I am taking the shard of odium from Eric because I'm annoyed.
Why?
What?
Why? No. Why? Why? Why are you annoyed?
I can foresee the future, and I'm going to be annoyed this episode. So.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, this is pretty contentious. Also joining me is Matt.
I'm Matt, or Comatose on the forums, and I have accepted that not everyone shares my point of view, but I'm confident that I'm correct.
Yeah. Matt is Canadian. He's a much better person than I am.
And also joining me is Evgeni.
Hello, I am a very durable shield.
And I am Chaos, and we're going to be talking about Half-Shards today. And there's a little bit of contention here. And so we're just going to go right into it here. Half-Shards are very particular augmenter fabrials, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
They're classified as augmenters in world currently.
Whether that's accurate or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So half-shards are the shields that are developed in Vedenar, and they're one of the only fabrials that have been created, or the only that are able to stop a shard blade. And it's a very recent invention and a recent development.
A limited number of times. Like, it's not like they will always, like...
Similar to shard plate. Similar to shard plate. Because shard plate also shatters if you hit it. Like, that's part of those duels, right? Is you are shattering. Yes. So it's very similar.
Like, I don't think they shatter. They just, like, run out of energy. And I guess we don't really know.
Cut them.
Well, I guess the functional difference is that shard plate you could regrow, and probably the half shards you can't, right? Like, you break the half shard, it's done, whereas the shard plate you can, like, refill.
Yeah,
it,
but in that case, it's debatable how, like, because half shards it's just the shields, right? That's the only thing we've seen. And with them, it's, like, if it's just like a regular shield with a bit, like, strapped on the back, then it doesn't matter what you do to the shield. You take the gem from the back, the fabrial, and you put it on another shield. And is that another functional half shard? Like, we don't know how much of the entire construct is irreplaceable.
Well,
if I remember correctly, like, it's a very specific shape of shield as well. It's like
that's debatably important. Like, it could be a style or like a...
No, like, I remember reading something that is like, it only works with this type of this shape of shield.
Anyone else remember that?
I do vaguely remember that.
I don't remember that.
I'm not quite sure. Were the great bows also considered half shards?
No,
not half shards. No, they are augmenters.
Okay. And the great bows only a shard bearer could use.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And that's just because how difficult they are to...
Yeah.
Right.
The augmenter is specifically there to, like, enhance, like, the durability of the bow, so it doesn't just, like, snap when they pull it.
Like, for example, like a pewter arm could still use grand bow.
Probably.
Like, you just need the strength to pull it.
Yeah. It's just
purely a matter of strength.
Yeah.
So the half shards are just the shield.
Yeah.
So that's important for the listeners.
And they come from the kind of the process of artifabrians trying to find a way to replicate shard plate and shard blade.
That's always what they want. Yep.
Yeah, because everyone wants that.
And in world, they are seeing all those things as fabrials. Like, they're maybe starting to get away from that idea now, but from the early discussions, like, they think of shard blade plates as fabrials.
They always thought they were,
Yeah.
Which is, we know that to be
more
complicated than they thought it was.
At least half wrong.
Yeah.
which is appropriate for half shards.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so how about we read the quote that will be the most contentious regarding Half-Shards?
Sure.
Oh boy.
So just by way of background, when I read this, I took it as very clear and straightforward and was...
Okay, all right. Well, we could let the listeners decide.
Yeah, but
we don't need to...
There's been some debate, so...
Yeah.
So this is Oathbringer Chapter 11, and it's Taravangian talking. They're in...
Chapter 11?
Chapter 100. So it's Oathbringer Chapter 100, where Taravangian is talking to Dalinar in Jakaved right before Dalinar's kind of big breakdown. And Taravangian says, "Did you want to see one of these, Dalinar?" And he holds up the shield. Glad for the distraction, Dalinar took the shield, hefting it. "Half-Shard," he said, noting a steel box with a gemstone inside, fastened to the inner surface. "Indeed," Taravangian said, "crude devices. There are legends of metal that can block a shard blade, a metal that falls from the sky. Silver, but somehow lighter. I should like to see that, but for now, we can use these." And then Taravangian later says, "You know how they make fabrials, don't you? Enslaved spren?" And then Dalinar says, "Spren can't be enslaved any more than a chull can." The Stormfather rumbled distantly in his mind. "That gemstone," Taravangian said, "imprisons the kind of spren that gives things substance, the kind that holds the world together. We have entrapped in that shield something that, at other times, might have blessed a night radiant. Storms. He," meaning Dalinar, "could not deal with a philosophical problem like this today."
Let's read that last line by Taravangian again, because that's big.
"That gemstone," Taravangian said, "imprisons the kind of spren that gives things substance, the kind that holds the world together. We have entrapped in that shield something that, at another time, might have blessed a night radiant."
Okay. So there are a couple of interesting bits here, right?
Yeah.
So one, metal that fell from the sky that can block a shard blade that looks suspiciously like silver but is lighter. What could it be? We don't know. It's amazing.
It's probably aluminum.
It's aluminum.
Probably aluminum.
Spoiler alert, it's aluminum. We have...
Falls from the sky, though.
Yeah, that's... We have that in the
Emperor's Soul.
Emperor's Soul, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they talk about...
Yeah, that's just what it reminded me of. I completely forgot about that part of this passage here.
Well,
That's so weird. Like, why would aluminum
does
fall from
Rokulas fall from the sky? I thought that was
There
something
was something about that.
I think you can
There was
find...
something about that in Elantris or Emperor's Soul.
Not Raucalist. It was the other one, the one that worked really well for soul steps.
No, I think it's like Shai's people worshipped rocks that fell from the sky. I think. Regardless, this is totally off topic for this.
Whatever, it doesn't
Anyway,
matter. It doesn't
sure,
matter.
okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
It doesn't matter.
So that's one important bit. Bit number two, half-shards, they are shields. Whether or not they have a specific shape is not in this passage, and they have a steel box, presumably the one where the fabrial is like enclosed.
It would be the
kind of-
housing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strapped on the back of that shield, right? And then the big one, the spren that is being captured, is the kind of spren that gives things substance, the kind that holds the world together.
Higgs boson spren.
Right? We have entrapped in that shield something that at another time might have blessed a night radiant. So there was a conversation on Discord several weeks back that spanned multiple hours and multiple channels.
Yes, correct.
Where Comatose and the Gator Girl were talking about this. And
it's been debated in Oathbringer spoilers as well, at other times.
Yes.
Not for 5 hours.
as most things have been, yes.
Yeah.
Where the contentious point was, well, this line where it says, at another time might have blessed a night radiant, is that Taravangian, hypothetically speaking, well, this is a spren. We don't really understand how spren work. Maybe that's a radiant spren. Whatever. I don't know how spren work. Or is this him explicitly saying, hey, that's a spren that would normally go to one of the radiants because Hellbond and whatever. But this particular spren, we got trapped in a gem. It's not forming a Hellbond with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we four stand on this bit?
I'm pretty firmly on. I thought it was obvious from the quote, but I'm wrong. So I'm not belittling anyone who thinks differently. But there is a spren who could form a Nahel bond in the gemstones of the Half-Shards. That's where I fall.
So you're saying, so do you have a candidate for what order that's pretty much?
My best guess would be the Stoneward. Spren would make sense to me, but it's a guess. Like I'm less sure about which spren it is, but I do think it is one of the 10.
Okay. Ian?
Taravangian is a liar McLiarpants, and I don't trust anything he says.
How dare you? He's a king.
He's a murderer.
And
not
he's
a
usually
cool
pretty
one.
honest about yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I think Taravangian is being poetic. It's like, if
He could be
those
poetic.
were actually using like sapient radiant spren, I think the Stormfather would not be okay with that and be like, yo, you have to put a stop to this.
He does rumble distantly in Dalinar's mind.
When like they mention like spren being captured and imprisoned.
Yeah, which I think it's because he realizes that these are more than just regular spren. Like when Dalinar says,
I don't know if I agree with that context, Matt.
well, he
I
says
don't know about
spren
that.
can't be enslaved any more than a Chull can, and the Stormfather rumbles distantly in his mind. Like that's a sign, I think, that the Stormfather disagrees because these spren
like,
are being enslaved.
It's like
Speaking as a sapient spren who could be enslaved.
Yes. But it's like I would not consider like most fabrials enslaving spren.
And that's why Dalinar's reaction to this is important. When he says, I can't deal with physical problems like this today, and it's so distressing for him, he can't think about it right now. Because he shares, in an earlier chapter, Shallan and Yasna debate the kind of morality of trapping spren. And Yasna is the viewpoint that it's no worse than hitching a wagon to a Chull. And Dalinar shares this viewpoint. Like he uses almost the same words. You can't enslave a spren any more than a Chull can. And yet he's disturbed by this fact. And I think that's because he believes, at least, that what Taravangian is saying is that it's a sapient spren in the Half-Shard.
He believes like it could, like if it was true, like I don't want to think about that right now. He's also kind of gullible. In certain ways. Like,
do you agree though that Taravangian is saying and Dalinar thinks what
No, like I don't feel comfortable saying that.
In my debate with Gator Girl, one of the
who's great.
There's two questions raised by this quote. One is Taravangian saying and is Dalinar hearing that there is a radiant spren trapped in the shield? And the second question is he lying, and is there actually a radiant spren in the shield? And those are two different questions. One is based on a plain reading of the text, and the other is based on your reading of the situation in Taravangian's character on whether he's lying. I see a hard time reading that text any other way than saying there's a radiant spren in the shield. And whether or not he's lying about that is separate, but I can't see another way to interpret that.
Personally, if you force me to answer, I'm going to say like Taravangian is just being philosophical. Like he's not differentiating between like sapient spren that can form a Nahel bond and like the sub spren that's forming like this fabrial. It's like, oh, they're just all spren.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see that.
I don't think so, because he's saying that in answer to Dalinar's point that spren can't be enslaved any more than a chull can. Like he's
I don't think that, like, he's just like
I don't think
one
that
big
matters either.
all spren are the same thing. That, like,
I strongly disagree.
The point I wanted to make is that yes, Taravangian may be lying or not. Hello, Rain. Sorry, the Stormfather is rumbling in the back of my head. So he may be lying or not. This may be a Radiant spren or not. The other important question is, how will Taravangian know whether what kind of spren go into, like, how would he know about how surge binders work and greater spren and lesser spren, the types of spren that bind with the different radiant orders? Like, he would need to know a lot of stuff to.
He did know a lot of stuff. He knew why the Recreants happened.
That's not untrue.
He knows a lot of
He knows.
yes,
a
but
lot.
like not necessarily about this. Like the Recreant, like,
yeah,
it's
but
figure outable because like Yasna figured it out.
I think this is figure outable too. Like he's able to, like, he has an actual Radiant in his party with Malata, and I think
yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure the people making these half shards knew what they were doing if they are trapping Radiant Spren, but I think Taravangian has enough information that he can look at what they're doing and say, I think this is a Radiant Spren, and accurately find that out.
It's the thing I just can't get past is, like, why doesn't the Stormfather say anything?
The motivations of the Stormfather. Why does the
Dalinar's
Stormfather
very
say
high
or
enough
not
level.
say
His
anything?
children. Like,
Well,
Like, he's
honor
very-
spren. Honor spren are his children.
Not
He doesn't care
all.
about other spren as much, or in some cases maybe at all.
And I think this is just like humans are committing atrocities to Spren all over the place. Like, it's just like
I
par for the
disagree.
course.
that they're committing atrocities all over the place. Like, yeah, the Recreants, but
And the continually wielding the corpses of the
Okay,
dead
that's fair.
Spren.
yeah, I mean, the Stormfather would have to get pretty used to that. What I can't figure out is that if they were Radiant Spren, how would you just...
Attract
Wouldn't
them.
they be pretty hard to... Yeah, that sounds really difficult to do.
Well,
like, I don't know.
2 points. So I have two thoughts on this. One is when they first cross over and are kind of seeking proto-radiance, we know they're kind of stupid. Like after they make that first cross,
Yeah.
like they take a
Sometimes.
while to gain their smarts. And secondly, one theory I had about this is, what if they have like a guy who's like, this guy's really good at attracting the half-shard spren, and maybe that person is actually a proto-radiant and they don't realize why he's good at.
I
That was
feel like
one
at a
theory.
certain point, the spread would just stop coming because, like, they're not idiots. Like,
But I
these
don't
are
think they-
sapient beings.
Yeah, but
Well, the ones in the cognitive who didn't transition would
yeah,
notice that.
but
Yeah.
also like I don't think Ray Shaffer is an idiot or like unintelligent, and she was trapped. Like, I
She's
think-
non-sapient. Like, she's not fully
what?
aware.
She's not one of the stupid.
Ah.
She's not one of the three mindless ones, though. She's somewhere
But, like,
in
she's
between
not
them
a
and yeah,
person.
and not.
Like,
I think
I don't know.
making that value judgment is very difficult, and I don't think you get to say that.
No.
Ian. Like, that's pretty extreme.
Like she,
I don't know if you get to say
like
that.
she
Okay.
definitely has compulsions. Like she's attracted to violence, but I do think she demonstrates more intelligence
okay.
than.
Yeah,
It's like
I
you
don't
can't
think you
have a
get to be the judge of
conversation with
that.
her, is my point. Like,
Well,
Well,
like,
Sure, you could.
think about what she's doing to
very one-sided
Shallan.
conversation. Like,
She's
doesn't-
trying to steal Pattern's bond with Shallan. Like she's trying to cut away the bond and interject herself and bond Shallan. Like that kind of thinking, I think, demonstrates a higher level of intelligence than.
just because you can't speak with a thing doesn't mean it's not intelligent.
Anyway, that's
Yeah.
tangential. I don't think just
Yes.
because these higher, I think spren are subject to compulsions or like attractions. And I think just because they're intelligent doesn't mean you couldn't use something that attracts them to trick them into a gemstone.
Yeah, I feel like all spren would.
It's like, but like sapient spren always have a choice. Like they choose who they bond.
They do.
Well, yeah.
I think this is getting them close enough to the point where you can take that choice away from them. You're luring them in, and then however you get them into the gemstone, like that's the trick, I think.
Like I just feel like after a certain point they would stop transitioning. Like they would figure out like, yo, something is wrong. Like
I mean, I don't know if I agree with Matt's conspiracy theory on
that,
how that could occur.
And that's a complete
I don't know
that's
about
very
that.
speculative. But just because that's not necessarily correct doesn't mean that it's not happening somehow, and they don't have a way of doing it.
Do the half-shards need to have radiant spren, or could they just have other spren?
Well, I didn't think about this at all until I saw that quote. Like, I don't see another interpretation, and no one has, other than, I don't think he's talking metaphorically. Like, I
don't know. Like, a lot of people lump, those parts, they're all the same. Like, humans do that all the time to things that aren't human. Humans do that to other groups of humans and just say they're all the same.
I think if
they do that all the time.
If Dalinar was interpreting it that way, though, I don't think he would be as distressed as he becomes. Like, this is very distressing for Dalinar,
like,
and he can't deal with it.
Dalinar is in a very dark place at that point. So it's like, yeah, of course he takes things like the worst possible way.
Yeah, because that's after he...
It's also not necessarily distressing. It could be just distracting.
The other thing, though, is if you're looking at this on a meta-writerly level, what purpose is this conversation serving? Like, I think this conversation makes more sense if that's like a reveal at that point that Dalinar can't handle.
Like, I think it's just like iteration, like, yo, you can capture spren in gems.
But Dalinar doesn't, I think it's more foreshadowing in that it's like, okay, we know we can capture dumb spren. You can also capture greater spren, moving along the line towards Dalinar figuring out you can trap the unmade with something they are attracted to.
Okay. I think, is it possible to trap sapient spren?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is that the half-shards? I don't know. I don't think it's that unreasonable to think that Taravangian could just say philosophically that, hey, these spren, sure, there's subdivisions, but yeah, they're all, like, basically the same sort of thing. They can all be trapped. All you would need is more bigger gemstones. We have a word of Brandon on that, right? Like, you know, more perfect gemstones. Like, it's just a matter of power level.
But I don't think he's talking metaphorically. He's saying in that gemstone, we've imprisoned a kind of spren that gives things substance.
Fundamental disagreement. Like, we're not going to convince each other.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I'm just saying, like, we keep on saying, like, reading that thing, and it's like, that's not going to convince anything.
One thing I would like to respond to is a point I've seen made is that why people don't like the idea that they're radiant spren is that the effect isn't, they feel like if radiant spren were trapped, the effect should be greater. You know, it shouldn't be just making half shards.
That's valid.
And I think that's an emotional response, but I see fabrial science as kind of similar to hemalurgy, and to me, having a diminishing return like that when you're doing something kind of unnatural with spren makes sense to me. That, the spren would be capable of more in a nahal bond, but because you're like twisting it, the effect is lesser. And that makes sense to me. It's not evidence for, it's a point against that argument.
Yeah, it's like, I disagree that, like, yes, like there's a comparison to be made with hemalurgy, but like this is not an end negative magic system. Like,
yeah,
it's just
it's
an
not
application
about
of like natural. It's like, it's not twisting anything. Like, this is how the universe works.
Yes, Argent.
Actually, when you mentioned hemalurgy, the thing I thought of was the early belief that adium spikes steal temporal abilities. which was just a product of, well, they haven't experimented enough. They don't know better. They think that's how it is. And so similarly to this, half shards are super new. They've had, I guess, no more than a dozen, maybe a couple of dozen ever made. Because the king of Yakoved had, 3, 4, 5, whatever guards with those. And those being produced in Yakoved, I would imagine he would have access to, all of them, really. So it's just a product of, well, they're still experimenting. They are trying to find things out. Maybe they can do more with the kind of spren that they have, but that's kind of, because it's about the metal casing, it's about the gem that they have, it's about all those things, and they just found something that works.
And could they do if they were radiant spren, which I don't know if I agree with. I don't have strong opinions, but if they were in those gemstones, could they probably do a lot of different things?
Yeah.
Things? Probably, right? And it could probably be pretty powerful, and they just don't know how to yet. That's not unreasonable, and I totally agree.
But it does make sense to me that they're capable of more in a nahel bond than in a fabrial, because in a nahel bond, you're exchanging with the person, right? The person is changing the spren, and the spren is changing the person. Whereas the fabrial feels one-sided. So I think I agree there could be more, but it makes sense to me that a fabrial powered by a radiant spren wouldn't be as good as a full nahel bond.
I think that's reasonable.
I think that's reasonable too. Yeah, the direct hemalurgy, it's not a negative. But...
It's not a negative, but I think it's a inefficient application of the power.
Well, not necessarily. It's a very directed application of the power, whereas a person can choose how to use it at any given point in time, whereas you're locking in no, you can do this one thing.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yeah.
In a fabrial, you're saying
focused.
You do this. Now I'm flipping the switch. You do that.
Yeah. There's no choice in that.
Yeah.
It's having using allomancy or being a shard. Shard can do anything, really.
Sure.
Or it can kind of specifically fuel this one magic system.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, that's a good example actually, because if you're looking at the different states of Lerasium, the solid form is much more limited in that it just gives a person allomancy, whereas the liquid and gas are more less specific.
Yeah.
Sure.
Matt, did you want to read this last part of this quote? Because I feel like you feel like it's relevant, and so you can read it.
Well,
we don't want to have people in the comments complaining, you didn't mention this other part.
So the reason why I think this is important is because it's another clue to what Dalinar does at the end with trapping Ner'gul, and it's also what sends him over the edge and says he needs to leave. So he said, Teravangian says, no, of course you can't. Do you know how we capture spren for fabrials, Dalinar? From spanreeds to hetrials, it's all the same. You lure the spren with something it loves. You give it something familiar to draw in, something it knows deeply. In that moment, it becomes your slave. I really can't think about this right now, thinks Dalinar, and then he leaves. And Dalinar knows how fabrials are made. He's Navani's husband. He's Yasna's uncle. If that explanation was just about regular spren, I don't think it would set him off, even in his distressed state. It's the way it does there.
I think it's he is anything could have set him off at that point. It's he was in a very dark place, and it's
but earlier he says, I'll talk about the half shards with Teravangian, that'll help distract me. And it's only when he starts thinking about them as radiant spren that it becomes distressing. There's a shift.
Just because Dalinar is thinking that way doesn't mean it's a radiant spren.
That's true. I think Dalinar thinks that Teravangian is saying that it's a radiant spren.
I don't.
That's what Dalinar is thinking.
I don't know about that.
Not necessarily. He's just thinking what if a radiant spren were captured?
So
it's just. Yeah.
I think
Dalinar's
you're stretching it very far to get to that.
Dalinar's growing relationship with the Stormfather, as well as other Surgebinders' relationships with their spren, have made people, specifically those Surgebinders, more aware of spren in general and how spren are in many ways like people. So when people like Dalinar are now having conversations about spren, they, I believe, are beginning to think of them as, well, just some other people. And so having conversations about trapping spren and luring spren and enslaving spren is just more uncomfortable to them than it was, 2 years ago.
And Taravangian is a very interesting person because his intelligence changes every day, and also his compassion changes every day. This seems to be a very smart day.
He doesn't seem very compassionate.
And so, he might just be screwing with Dalinar, to push him over the edge, to make him unsuitable to lead.
I agree with that. But again, I think it's a different question than what is he saying? If he's lying,
he's saying
then
whatever is going to put Dalinar over the edge.
But I think he is saying, though, that there are Radiant spren in there. And whether he's saying that truthfully or to push Dalinar over the edge is a different question.
I don't know if that needs to be the case. I think it could just be, getting that idea into Dalinar's head that, these things we do that are just kind of rote, that's not okay, and just getting that more on that philosophical level, grouping that together.
Okay, so I don't necessarily think he might not be trying to say anything, and just this is he's just talking about this, and because he's in a very low compassion state that oh yeah, we totally enslaved them, they deserve it, blah 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 blah, I'm evil. That's hyperbole. That's not actually Taravangian's inner monologue. But he's less compassionate, so he's less likely to frame thing in a more compassionate way. So, yeah, we enslave spren.
My opinion on the point that they're becoming more aware through their radiant bonds that Evgeni made is that Yasna, who is probably the most aware of her bond, still very much views fabrials as not a problem. She says it's just like hitching a chal to a wagon. And that's the same perspective Dalinar has in this same scene. And okay, maybe this is just occurring to him now that, spren are like the Stormfather, but I think he's had enough time and awareness that this is something different that he is hearing Taravangian say than, we hook up a flame spren to a heat reel. I don't think Dalinar has a problem with that.
No, he doesn't. It's the idea of capturing a sapient spren is being an issue. I don't think any of us will argue that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is also after Yasna had spent an entire book in Shadesmar surrounded with sapient spren. She probably realizes fabrials, they're just normal animal spren. There's no issue here.
But I think Dalinar has a similar awareness. I don't think you need to spend time in Shadesmar. I think Dalinar has a similar understanding that there's different kinds of spren.
Well, I'm just saying the fact that she was in Shadesmar reinforces her point. She does understand it. It's not a requirement, but it reinforces. Evgeni,
she has seen the true nature of spren. I wanted us to approach this and try to tackle it from a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to try to figure out what kind of spren Taravangian might be talking about, and then see if we can if we can make a verdict. Could this be a radiant spren, or could it be the one option that we haven't really talked about is kind of a middle tier sapient spren, right? Mm-hmm. So something like the mist spren, I believe were.
Yeah.
Yep.
They are not radiant, but they are certainly
that's true.
Sapient.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And so that could be so.
And then in that case, Taravangian would be incorrect he'd be saying it's a sapient spren, but he's saying it might have blessed a radiant, but a misspren can't bless a radiant. So
Right,
he would be
he's
incorrectly assuming. Yeah.
Unless he's being metaphorical about it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear he's being metaphorical. But do go on.
Obviously, some
Do go
people
on.
on this podcast disagree
Well, that's
with
true.
that statement.
That's
When
yes.
I talked with people I was reading this book with, and I told them that some people didn't read this as the radiant spren. Most people who replied to me said, that's so weird. I just accepted that as that's what that was saying.
You accepted the word of a liar McLiar pants.
Your conversation
well, okay,
with...
But that's different points. Sorry, that Teravangian is saying that there's radiant spren there. If you trust him, that's a different question. But I think that's pretty clearly what he's saying. Again, yeah, let's go with what spren it could be.
Higgs boson spren.
One other hypothesis I've seen posited is there's the theory that there's the cousin spren, like the wind spren for the honor spren, glory spren for bondsmiths, and there's a theory that those spren make shard plate. And so some people have said those are the spren that Teravangian might be referring to here. Personally, I disagree because that's not a concept we've come across in the text yet. And so if Brandon was referencing that, most readers who are not on the 17th shard and have seen those theories would miss it. And so that's my response to that theory.
To be fair, though, on page 10 of The Way of Kings, we see something that may or may not be void light. And we don't learn about that until 3 books later. So it could be something that we're not supposed to know about.
Yeah, but it's a little different because then you're also assuming Teravangian, that's just an observation. Here it's an explanation. So then you're assuming that Teravangian knows how shard plate is made and is making this comment, but that's an inference that a reader could not draw unless they've heard that theory. It's a little different than Dalinar saying, oh, look, that thing that I don't know what it is. And then 3 books later, you find out about it. To me, that there's a distinction between those on a writerly level.
Let's spend less time trying to reinforce your theory and more time trying to figure out what kind of spren this is.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Higgs boson spren.
Great. Welcome to Shardcast, where just repeat the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We can stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, this is great. This is great. I love it.
I will say
high quality. This is high quality content. This is the quality content you come here for on Pedantic Cast.
I will say David told me to fight my point hard, so I'm not just doing this for myself.
And you would listen to him?
Yeah, there are others who agree. Yeah.
I will just say that I've said this a lot. No one has responded to it, so that's kind of why I keep bringing it up.
Okay, sorry. What point have we not responded to?
What comment?
The Higgs boson spren.
The what spren?
Higgs boson. It's what gives matter, substance in the universe.
But no one knows what that is, so it can't have a cognitive reflection of people. Great, we're done. Cool.
What? I've never heard of that before.
You and everyone
it's a
on
physics
Roshar.
thing.
Yes.
It's a physics thing, but yeah, people on Roshar definitely don't. I don't know. I don't know what kind of spren this is. I probably one we haven't seen, honestly. I don't know. I don't think fundamental particles have spren, personally. I would not say that an electron has a spren, sorry. Or a muon has a spren, or a proton has a spren. I don't think that's the case.
One theory I have seen that I think has some merit is that there's spren that appear around lashings when they're bound, a full lashing when they're bound together.
Yeah.
And I've seen some theories that that's the spren that Teravangian is talking about here. I
think bind
which
is what.
Yeah, and so I can kind of see that.
I kind of am digging the idea that they could be those cousin sprens to Shardplate. If Shardplate is made up of these cousin spren, which we'll need a podcast to talk about Shardplate, but if that is the case, then it could make sense that such a fabrial would use those spren.
But I think from a writerly perspective, it doesn't make sense for Brandon to write that into the story in this specific way.
Well, I mean,
Writing is an art. Like, Brandon can write whatever he wants.
Oh yeah, he can.
I think the writery perspective of this scene, Matt, is very simple to simply foreshadow that strong spren can be imprisoned. I don't know if Taravangian legit thinks that these are radiant spren inside the half-shard. I think he was being metaphorical there, and the writery purpose is just to relate in the reader's mind that, spren have lots of similarities. That thing you could do with fabrials, you can do with others.
And to help push Dalinar over the edge.
Can I ask a question? So,
sure.
I'm curious, what is people's... So, like, we've established, I think, from our debate that this paragraph can have multiple different interpretations. Like, I think it's fair for me to say that it can be interpreted as him saying, these are legit radiant spren.
Yes.
That's a fair interpretation, if not the only one.
Yes.
What are people's, I guess, objections or aversions to that interpretation? Like, why don't people like that as a conclusion?
I mean, Ian just spent like half an hour talking about that.
You know, he was talking about why he doesn't think it is, like the evidence. But I guess why, Ian, why do you feel so strongly about that? Why don't you like?
This is going to be an incredibly unsatisfying answer for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
because
subjective.
it was obvious. Like it's obviously like that. Like, no, like I don't have a good reason. It's just like
you don't read it that way. So it's
I
similar
just
to
don't
my
read it that
reason
way.
for supporting it. It seems obvious to me. So yeah.
It's like I fully understand that that's an incredibly unsatisfying,
Yeah.
and I will not try to justify.
No.
I go back and forth on this. I don't have strong opinions, but I'm kind of leaning towards it being mostly metaphorical. Now, that said, I think that we will see radiant spren inside fabrials at some point. If this is them, then okay. I think we will see that at some point. And now I'm kind of just thinking what kind of fabrial Nurgle would be in, and that's great.
Yeah.
To think
It's
about.
like I just think that if a radiant spren was captured in a fabrial, it would be a bigger deal. Like, not necessarily like that, like it would be more powerful, like as a fabrial. It was just like it would be a bigger deal in the text. Like the Stormfather would be vocal about this. Like, yo, like this is not okay.
And I guess I'm reading the text a little stronger in that I'm seeing that rumbling as that this is not okay, and I'm seeing Dalinar's reaction as a very powerful thing. And that's it. We're just reading it differently. But I am reading it as it was a big deal at the time.
One of the directions I tried to steer this conversation in and failed like 4 times.
Yes.
Was the type of spren, and way back like an hour ago, when
Wasn't an hour ago.
ish. Time is relative. Who cares? We're all gonna die anyway.
Maybe.
So somebody mentioned the Stoneward spren and how it could. So if we assume that it's a radiant spren, just for the sake of this argument, then there are only so many spren, or only so many spren that could possibly make sense, right? So it's not gonna be a bondsmith spren.
No,
they are massive. You don't have enough for half-shards anyway.
And we've seen 2 of the 3 bondsmith's spren not trapped. So
sure. Although whatever, it's not that. It's not going to be an honor spren, because that doesn't make sense. Well, I guess it could make sense if you interpret the whole the kind that holds the world together. If you take that to mean gravity, then honor spren maybe. Yeah. But I don't think that's it.
Yeah, and I would say honor spren also, to the point of how you're fishing for them. We know Syl was like a really early crossover, and that the other spren were holding back. So I think it's probably not Honor Spren also
Sure.
for that reason.
So if it was, I think it would be one of the orders associated with cohesion.
Right. I was making my way through the
Okay.
double I until I got
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Oh God.
But Dustbringer probably not. Skybreaker probably not. Truthwatcher, who even knows what kind of spren they are? Cryptic, that doesn't even make sense. Ink spren, that doesn't make sense to me either. And so we get
yeah, it's
we
Don't
get
we
to
know
the ones
Ivory's one of the only one as well?
he was the first one.
Yeah.
And at some point the only one, but after he
Yeah.
left, there may have been
Who
others.
knows? Yeah. Okay.
And so we get to kind of the top left corner of the double I that we don't know anything about, right? We have the Will Shaper Spren that has control over transportation and
Cohesion.
is it
Cohesion.
cohesion?
Yeah.
Okay.
yes.
And then we have and we don't we know that we've seen one of those. It's Timber.
Timber.
And then we have the Stoneward Spren, which that's tension and cohesion.
Mhm.
And we have seen those in Shadesmar, and they look like stone golems or rock golems with like cracked stone skin and fire or lava kind of shining through from underneath, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the bondsmiths. Who cares about those?
Yeah.
The kind of spren that gives things substance. So if you're giving substance to something, that sounds a little bit like the stone ward that turned rock into putty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just an
Except the
application of
opposite.
cohesion. Like
Or is it
bill shapers could do that.
Or is that tension though?
It's cohesion.
Tension
Okay.
and cohesion are weird, but so if it is a radiant spren, it's going to be either a will shaper or a stone ward. Those are
Probably.
the only things that could
Yes.
possibly make sense.
I think so.
Correct.
And because we like will shaper seems more mind-y, right? You're shaping a will, so that doesn't feel to me like something that would give substance. I know this is a super hand wavy explanation.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they-
So
Will
if it is
Shapers are one
something-
of the three Shadesmar savvy orders, right? Like Edge
Yeah.
Else colors are the best, but
yeah.
they're
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
But if it is something, Stoneward seems like the best bet. And thinking of the Stoneward spren in Shadesmar, this rocky kind of golem thing, does it give things like it feels to me more like a defender type of spren, like a protector, not a hold the world together type of thing.
I don't think we know enough to say, really.
That's true.
I
I
get an offhand explanation of what they look like. We have no idea what they're actually like.
yeah. If we're talking feelings, like it felt very appropriate to me
Yeah.
that a stone word would have that description.
Sure.
So I think we don't have much evidence. We're just going on feelings.
Yeah, I think that may be more accurate actually. Like it could be. I thought I was gonna go somewhere with the
Yeah.
appearance of the spren, but just off the description, based on like the surges they control, tension and cohesion, where they just do all sorts of matter manipulation, right? It could be them.
And like tension is described as altering the stiffness of an object. So like making something more durable seems like a stonewardy
That's
thing
a good point.
to me.
Yeah.
Arzarcanum, Chris, something about strong axial. Where was that? Right, because they
remember
don't.
which one.
Uh,
I
they
think
don't
cohesion
refer
is the
to-
strong and tension is the weak.
cohesion strong, tension is soft.
Right.
Actual
That's
interconnection.
that's
Big thing.
pretty in line with Taravangians holding the world together, because that's what those forces do.
Yeah, I mean, Well, see,
Also a very
see, that's
philosophical statement.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're being so philosophical about that. But that said, if you're saying, this is the kind of spren that holds the world together, yeah, that's philosophical, but that also seems like an important kind of spren.
But it's also
right?
a very specific force, or
Mm-hmm.
couple of forces that he's referring to, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I can never get those right, but those are the ones that hold the atom together and the molecules together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, strong force does. Weak force doesn't.
What does weak do?
Weak force is about radioactive decay.
Okay.
That's what the nuclear weak force does. It does the opposite of put atoms together. It pushes them out of the strong force, actually, yeah. So
Okay. Yeah. No, I think based on that alone, I am on board with it could be that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Stoneward spren. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a cousin spren or a cousin of Stoneward spren. Those would all not be surprising.
If cousin spren exist.
Read that end of part 1 of Oathbringer with the wind spren again, Wind Calden.
Right now, I think this is analogous to the bind spren that show up like when you lash something, but for cohesion or tension.
Mhm.
It's like that spren.
A spren that's
Okay.
attracted to the use of that surge, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe.
that would be reasonable. Any final thoughts on Half-Shards, guys?
I think my
I
position
don't
is there.
think so. Like, we should just move on.
Okay, so going to kind of wrap these 2 episodes up about fabrials, we wanted to talk about magical technology on other planets.
So the obvious option is Scadrial with airships and stuff.
And the medallions in general.
Personally, I would not call those fabrials.
Explain.
That's fair.
Like, they're just a manipulation of the magic that allows anybody to use them. Like, they're not mechanical, really. Like, I
guess I just always... Brandon always said before we got bans that there was another way to access the metallic arts in like a more technological way, and that's so I
and
kind of group technology and that together.
yeah, and like we do see that, like because like medallions are one thing, and then like metal tech is another.
Like
They're
you're
two
talking
separate
about
things.
the allomantic grenades, quote unquote, hey? Yeah.
Or
And those are different.
Like,
because the grenade, like the allomantic machines use allomancy without a person once they're activated, whereas the medallions, you still need a person to use it, right?
yeah,
Like,
I mean, span read, you need a person.
medallions are no different from a hemalurgic spike, really.
they're giving the person the power.
Yeah,
Sure.
Whereas like Magitech is a machine is using a magical effect on its own. Like, yes, it might need a person to apply that effect, like with the span read, but the span read is really doing all the work.
Yeah, the person is using the machine is using the power. Whereas with the medallions are giving the person the power and the person's using the power.
I think that may be an artificial distinction, but
I
let
think so,
me
yeah.
give you a framework, which is a very popular framework, and you can tell me whether you agree or disagree with that. And then once we establish a framework, we can talk about whether things are things, right? So a popular definition of what magic is and what technology is that magic is something only some people can use, and technology is something that, given resources and whatever, anyone can use. Is that something you agree with?
I think Brandon uses that in Alcatraz. I don't necessarily agree, but like that's a very subjective. Like, where is the line?
Yeah, it is very.
I mean,
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Like,
well, I guess my point is, the medallions are much more a thing that is created that make anyone metalborn, and that just feels more techie to me than not. And I feel like if Fabrial's gonna be generic, then like who knows what he'll use the word Fabrial to describe, right? Like, it's a pretty fuzzy line. I don't know how
It's
the
like,
medallions
so would you
are
call
distinct that needs to be.
hemorrhagic spikes like fabrials then, because like they're no different than what
I don't. I mean, I see that they're functionally similar, but there are some very
It's
important differences.
my point is just like medallions are far more similar to hemorrhagic spikes than they are to the metal tech that we see.
I suppose, but I think you might be disappointed later in the called Fabrial.
Probably, but like, my point is like
they just feel technology
because
Okay.
they're very different.
That's a fair viewpoint. That is one of
And
several.
I know somebody's going to bring it up, but it not necessarily like you, but like a viewer is going to bring this up. In the Oathbringer Ars Arcanum, Chris talks about the honor blades and how like, oh, like this is like, let's see if I still have it open.
She talks about the commodization of the metallic arts.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
Commodization.
but
So yeah, I have it. Soulcasters, the devices, were created to imitate the abilities of the Surge of Soulcasting or Transformation. This is yet another mechanical imitation of something once only available only to a select few within the bounds of an invested art. The Honor Blades on Roshar, indeed, may be the very first example of this from thousands of years ago. I believe this has relevance to the discoveries being made on Scadrial and the commoditization of Allomancy and Ferrochemy.
see, like I would put honor blades and medallions like in one group, and then fabrials and et metal tech in another. Like, sure, like they're both all mechanical, but like they're very different from each other. Like one is technology, and one is just like anybody can use this magic now. Hooray!
Well, you went back at the beginning. Weren't the airships just used with the medallions?
No,
I kind of forget.
It's
Similarly,
like, they needed the medallions to make themselves light enough, but the skyship had a core of et metal in it that was making the ship lighter.
Okay. I really need to reread Bands of Morning, is all I'm saying. Like, that ending got crazy, and I'm like, well, there's a lot happening real fast.
So some other forms of tech from other places are the Aeon plates, which is like you're putting an Aeon, which you normally have to draw on some sort of construct, and then you press it and it has an effect. Very similar to how fabrials are described, I think.
Yes. So I think you can use Aeon and/or to make fabrials. I don't necessarily agree that like just an Aeon on a plate is a fabrial.
No,
Okay.
it's a construct, right? So you need a but and they're doing similar things. You're getting an object that can be used by anyone to produce an effect.
Yes.
how is a hetrial different from an Aeon
That produces
like if you had an
produces heat
Aeon
when touched?
If you had an Aeon A Ehe or whatever,
I was
fires,
thinking Ihi, yeah,
and you press it and it heats up. That's
or
Kind of
Aishi, which is light.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these things will broadly just be referred to as fabrials,
Although
Probably a safe bet.
and it will be used very broadly.
Much
So-
like the cognitive realm will be broadly referred to as Shadesmar.
Hey.
I just like to make a distinction when like it's just a magic system doing stuff, and then like this is a machine that uses magic, but is a machine.
but then you're getting into like
Is a hetrial a machine?
Yes.
or the
because it's a fabrial.
Soulcaster. Is the
How-
Soulcaster a machine?
So like,
Again, how is a hetrial different from a Aeon Ini or Ihi plate?
Because it is.
It's a good question. No, that is a bad
I know.
answer.
That's why it took me a long time to say it.
I just think that, like, obviously on Roshar, all the magical technology involves spren, but on other places it won't. Like, it's just not going to look the same as it is on Roshar. And I can see the distinction that the et metal derived stuff is more machiney, but I don't really think that the Aeon on a plate that you press that does a function is that, especially because, like, Aeondor can do a lot. It can do whatever you want.
I think with Aeondor, the line is definitely going to be a lot blurrier. And it's like, it might just be because, like, I have a different perception of how the plates work than you. Because it's like, in my mind, it's literally just like the Aeon carved into the metal, so it stays there. It's like,
but it's not producing.
Like,
it's not producing a constant effect, though. Like, it's something that can be turned on and off.
Yeah, which makes it more of like a machine to me.
That's a good point.
Just because, and like, who knows how they got the metal to do that? Like,
it's a little different than, like, for example, the city of Elantris, which is a construct but has a constant effect, and then the individual plates in Elantris, which are like, you can turn them on and off, and they do different things, right?
And it's funny that, like, we bring up, like, the city of Elantris, because in the word of Brandon, where Brandon says that, all of these things are going to be fabrials, it's in response to somebody asking about the city of Elantris.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if all these magical technologies, which I would still label the medallions.
It's like, I just don't see that as technology. Like, it's just an application of the magic.
But these magics are sciences.
I just don't think the distinction...
So...
I just don't think that line is going to be distinct ever. I just don't think that's going to be the case. Like, manipulating the surges versus the surge binding, that's a very artificial distinction, in my opinion, anyway. Other magical technologies?
Another one that we have on our list is the Moon Scepter, which I'm not convinced that the Moon Scepter isn't like a creative application of, like, the soul stamps, like that it's a...
Or literally anything that could happen on Cell, because we just talked about Aeondor, that it can do whatever the crap you need it to.
I think it's just a Rosetta Stone. Like, it's... I don't think it's a mechanical application of the magic. Like I would not call it magic tech.
Yeah.
I mean...
It depends on your definition.
Yeah. We also don't know how it works.
No
clue. We have no idea of... We barely have an idea of what it does. We have a
possible magic tech.
It translates from one variant of Cellish magic to another.
Yeah. And how it works, we don't know.
Now I'm just wondering if you could have, like, machines of awakening that you just, like, awaken to do a function.
That would be magic tech.
And, like, what gets close to this, I think, is Khaled's Phantoms. Like, they're getting... I'm not sure I would classify them as magic tech necessarily, but I think they're getting close to...
They're definitely like that. Getting closer.
Yeah.
They're just lifeless.
Yeah, but they're lifeless.
Creative application of lifeless.
Yeah. Like how... Like, they're not actually... They just have human bones. So if you were treating, like, human bones just as, like, a material that you're using to create a robot, then is it like a... Yeah, I'm curious to see if they would have the same level as kind of memory as Claude seems to, as a fully intact human body, and the same level of individuality that Claude seems to have.
With Claude, it's more that it was, what was the situation around his? Yeah, it was Arsteel. There was something weird about his creation.
I think so.
There's been theories.
I don't think I don't know if we know.
But I don't think we know.
Yeah, it's like lifeless in general are much more aware than people give them credit to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just Arsteel or Claude. But I think a lot of that is that their bodies are relatively well preserved. Like it makes sense that their, like, mind is sort of still there because, like, their body is still there. Like, it didn't degrade, but, like, if you take apart the body, then the mind's going to go. Like, it might have a mind, but it's not going to be the person's mind.
And I think also, like, a lot of the things in Awakening seem kind of like the constructs seem kind of close to like robots, basically. Like, I could imagine as commands get more sophisticated, you could have the equivalent of the little straw man running around, but have them doing things on like a more permanent basis, right? Like,
yeah, I think
or
so.
like,
I mean, you might,
like awakened elevators or something, right? That are using awakened materials to lift that, you know, like, I definitely think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not. Yeah, I think that could be a thing that occurs eventually.
You know,
maybe.
lift this platform when someone touches this thing. There could be some finessing that a command does that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any other magical technologies or final thoughts?
Oh, in Six of the Dusk, there's that like device that maps the location of every AVR on the island. That is Magitech.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, but it's Magitech.
No.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Less of a
Era 4.
Less of a final thought and more, hey, we should have brought this up earlier. But in 2015, somebody asked Brandon about essentially similarities between Scions and Spren. To which Brandon says, yeah, they're basically the same thing. They are a lot more formalized, referring to the Scions, a lot more structured, but they are basically the exact same thing. So yeah, some of the things you see Spren doing, Scions are capable of. Some of the things that Scions do, Spren will be capable of. And so it is interesting to think about Scions in the context of fabrials.
Yeah.
With this in mind.
A parallel I see too is like the concept that never made it into Elantris, but Brandon has talked about Spren being able to actualize their Aeon and produce an effect. Yes. That to me is kind of similar to like taking a flame Spren that is not a flame, sticking it in a gem, and all of a sudden it produces heat. Like that actualization of the effect. I kind of see a parallel.
Sure, yeah, I can kind of see that.
See, I think that Spren can be captured in gems, yes, but that's just an extension of the fact that on like gems can hold investiture. So it makes sense that like, you could capture a Scion, like you could capture a cognitive shadow probably. If you had a gemstone big enough, you could probably capture a shard. Be really hard. You need a really big gem, but it probably technically possible.
One of those
gem planet.
Yeah, one of those diamond planets.
Gem planet. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting to think about. So yeah. Any last thoughts? Do we have any more thoughts?
I don't think so.
If someone finds Brandon and has a chance to ask a question, please ask whether half-shards contain radiant Spren.
It is a good question. I mean, that would be good to get this out of the way.
Yes.
I think
I put it on the list.
But
yeah.
I just want everyone to make sure that yes, we disagree, but we're still all friends.
Oh, of course.
Oh no, we've actually been murdering us on video.
No,
chats.
Why would you say that?
Yeah.
No.
Krell.
Matt is very bloodied, but he's really putting it together,
I'm very frustrated at these three right now, but I still like them.
I imagine if I were as wrong as you are, I would be frustrated as well.
Yeah. With that very positive note, let's go to our favorite and non-contentious game show. Who's that Cosmere character?
Who's that Cosmere character?
All right, so of course, there's 5 clues. You guys each get a clue. And you can guess after each clue. So I said that wrong. Whatever. So this first clue says this character has noble blood.
Marsh.
No.
Zane.
No.
Kelsier.
No. Clue 2. This character has killed, which, yes, I'm aware, does apply to those previous ones.
Well, I mean, we got this family out of the way.
Okay. Shalon.
No.
Adolin.
No.
I'm gonna stay on schedule and go with Elend.
No.
Oh, wait, I have an idea. So, next clue.
This character has shown a dislike for a noble.
I'm gonna say Aidon, the king.
No, but that's good.
I'm gonna say Kaladin.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
Because
Probably doesn't have. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
would you consider Alt Light Eyes to be nobles?
Technically,
This
yeah.
this question was has noble blood, so I think that would.
I mean, they're kind of upper class, but I should probably guess something, huh?
You probably should.
Yes.
Shown dislike Vin?
No.
I guess.
I mean,
Did you?
Yeah.
I thought
Oh,
so.
well.
Wait, no,
you
I
were-
guess Kelsier. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't lie to me.
Vin hasn't.
You liar.
Okay.
Clue 4. Clue 4. This character carries a knife.
Okay. I'm going to guess this because this is the one that's in my mind. It's probably not true based off that clue. But Kai Ein.
No.
Okay.
It's a knife.
God, I'm so stuck on schedule.
Dalinar.
Oh.
No. It's not
Oh. I should have said this person.
Shan Ilariel?
No. All right, we have one more clue. I think I might add a sixth one.
Yeah.
Clue 5. This character is from Roshar.
It's Moash.
No.
How is it not Moash?
I don't know. This one's from Menukos.
Okay, can we go over the clues again?
Yeah, repeat them.
This character has noble blood.
Okay.
Yep.
This character has killed.
Yep.
This character has shown a dislike for a noble. This character carries a knife. This character is from Roshar.
I will fully confess that I thought I totally had it 3 times this game.
So Madden,
I
Evgeni haven't.
feel like at this point the knife is the most kind of the biggest clue.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna say Gaz.
No.
We don't know that he is skilled.
Yeah.
I mean,
He was in the army.
yeah. Like,
I mean, probably fair.
He got his eye damaged.
I can add a sixth clue.
Please.
These have been fairly vague
give
clues.
Argent a chance to guess.
Yeah,
We've
absolutely.
gone through 5?
Yeah, this is all 5, yeah. And you were all on the schedule train, which is why I kept laughing. Especially because
I
it's like
switched
the
to
knife thing.
Roshar. The
you
second
did.
question, I switched to Roshar.
You did.
Like,
But,
I
the whole,
switched to Cell.
Yeah.
Knife dislikes a noble. God, stupid knife. Tin?
No.
Hmm.
All right. This is sixth clue I'm adding, Menukos. But you stumped them. You stumped them, Menukos.
Yes.
And this isn't just a no one. That's nothing. Okay. This character is illegitimate.
The
Is it
bastard son of Yakoved.
Name.
Yakoved's king.
Name.
Ruthar? No.
No.
The Hero, the guy with the different eye colors.
The heterochromat. Yeah.
Yes. Although it wasn't the king, it was High Prince Valam, and his name was Redden.
That's fair.
Technically, he was the king.
Well, okay, during the time that we saw Redden, Valam was not the king.
Technically, we
him-
do see him when he is the king.
Yep.
Because
Just
he's
before
I
he
guess
dies.
that's true. Oh, yeah. Alright, fine. Anyway, good job, Manukos. You did stump them, and I had to add the illegitimate part to get it. But that was a good one. All right,
Wow.
one more.
I prefer it when the question's narrow, like some vague. Yeah.
All right, well, send
That's a personal
your angry
preference.
letter, Manukos, to at Comatose on Discord.
Yep. Go ahead.
Your user
Complain
submitted.
about these clues all the time.
We do.
Come
we
on.
do. This is a tradition. All right. This next one is from Mason Wheeler.
Oh.
This character has a nickname/title that they didn't actually want that was given by others.
Serini.
Didn't want.
No.
Okay, let's stay on cell. Kaiine.
It is Kaya.
I almost said Kai-Ein. I almost said Kai-Ein.
You know the best part of this?
What were the
So-
other clues?
Here's the other clues. This character has unresolved issues regarding their brother.
Yeah.
This
Nice
character-
misdirection.
At one point, had a serious grudge against their king.
Yep.
Oh, he's leading us towards Delinar, isn't he?
Yeah.
This character has refused a very high honor multiple times. And 5, there is a specific rune-like symbol associated with this character. And Mason says, this is admittedly a bit of a troll question because it's meant to look more and more like Kaladin. But that's way too
Kaladin.
obvious. But it was
Yeah.
actually Kaiine,
Yeah.
which is still a stupid way to pronounce it. But
I was thinking Kai-Ein, but it's like, I shouldn't say Kai-Ein because I literally just guessed him.
Look,
I'm gonna go with Serini.
Jeebus just gives me these two. I just read them in order. It's purely coincidental that you guessed Kaiine and then the second one was Kaiine.
Oh, I know. I'm not blaming you.
Yeah.
I'm blaming myself
You're blaming yourself. That's a good thing to do.
because I put Kai-Ein into Argent's brain.
You did.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
You
that
played
happened.
yourself. And on that note, follow us on 17shard.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud. Give us a review on iTunes. Comment below. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Farewell.
Caw.